death for Sigmund and his brothers seems certain. But the king's wife is Sigmund's sister, and she begs for mercy and implores the king to chain them up instead. He agrees. Not for mercy, though, but because he plans an even more cruel and lingering death. Chained to a tree in the forest that night, a she-wolf comes and devours one of Sigmund's brothers. She returns, ravenous, night after night, until only Sigmund is left. The next day, Sigmund's sister sends a servant with honey to smear on Sigmund's face. But to what end? Well, that night, when the she-wolf appears again, you'll never guess what happens. As the she-wolf licks the sweet honey from Sigmund's face, he bites the wolf's tongue. The she-wolf pulls away, but Sigmund holds on. The chains break, and he is free. After his escape, Sigmund lives like us, hidden in the forest. His enemy, King Siggeir, believing him dead, as his sister plots revenge. And for vengeance to succeed, even the great Sigmund needs help. So she sends her sons to him. But their blood is weak and corrupted, and they're put to death by Sigmund. So his sister hatches a new plan, one that is cold of heart and pure of blood. Sigmund's sister trades shapes with a sorceress, and in disguise, she lies with her own brother. She gives birth to a son named Sinfjotli. After a time, she sends him to the forest to Sigmund. He tests the boy and finds him strong and fearless, and so they go to take their vengeance on King Siggeir. Luck is not on their side. They're captured, and Siggeir has them buried alive. As Sigmund and Sinfjotli are being buried alive, Sigmund's sister throws an armful of straw into the grave mound. Hidden in the straw is Sigmund's sword, the gift of Odin. They cut their way out of the grave mound and set fire to Siggeir's hall. The king burns to death. Sigmund calls to his sister to come out so that she may live and be honored. She does come out, but only to tell him the truth. That she had slept with him, her brother, to beget a strong avenger. I am not fit to live, she says, and walks back into the fire. Strike vengeance from your heart, Senua, as there is always a heavy price to pay. And here is the end of Sigmund's story. He was a fierce and great warrior who fought many battles. But one day, an old man came onto the battlefield. Although shadowed by a hood, Sigmund saw that he only had one eye. The man raised his spear, and Sigmund struck at it with his sword, but the sword shattered into pieces. Sigmund then knew that this was Odin, and thus that victory could not be his. He bowed his head and accepted his end. Dying, he tells his wife that she is with child, and that her son will one day make a great weapon out of the fragments of his sword. The sword named Gram.
Imagine a sword that can slay gods. Its name is Gram. It was forged by the god of all Northmen, Odin, and gifted to Sigmund a great warrior.
I need this sword. It's important. Can you help me?
The sword appears whole, but it is an illusion. It shattered into shards long ago. It is said a great warrior can reforge ground by answering the trials of Odin.
Get closer. Can you see? Go to it.
A king in the north forced the dwarves to make a sword that would never fail and never rust, and that would slice through iron and stone and bring victory to its bearer. But the angry dwarves cursed it. It would be the death of a man every time it was drawn, and it would be the death of the king. Let me tell you about the sword Tyrving.
I don't recognize this place. Where are we? Where is she? It feels wrong. Where are we? Dead in the air. You can feel the dead.
Senua, you remind me of a story that the Northmen tell about a young woman warrior. Her name is Herver, the daughter of a berserker, born after he was killed. She's a wild, willful child who teaches herself to fight with weapons. When she learns where her father is buried, her only desire is to reclaim the treasure buried with him, but above all, the sword Tyrving.
Don't go in there. Go in. You have to go in. Take the torch. It's too dark. Take it. This will help you. Careful. You have to be able to see.
Who's there? Dillion, I'm here. I'm here for the trials. Like when we first met, remember?
There he is. There he is. Dillion. There he is. Finally.
You found him. What's wrong? What happened? Can you hear me?
How did you let him go?
Just wait there. I'll find you.
Dillion's calling to you. Can you hear him?
Herver disguises herself as a man to join a band of warriors, and soon becomes their leader. When they come to the island where her father is buried, her men do not want to go ashore. They say that evil haunts the island, and that it is a worse place by day than other places are by night. Fearless, she lands alone. There are many grave mounds, and all of them have ghostly flames burning over them. She comes to the grave mound of her father after passing through these ghostly fires, as though they were mist. The flames I passed through were real enough. Damn the Northmen to hell.
Don't touch the walls. You don't know what they might do. Turn back. She has to keep going. It's not safe here. She has to keep going. If you go down there, no one can save you. It's too scary.
Within the burial mound, Herver calls on her father to wake from death and bring her his sword. She says that it is not seemly for the dead in their grave mounds to bear valuable weapons. Her father answers with words of warning. You go to your doom. Baleful runes surround you. You have gone mad. You have lost your mind. Your thoughts are confused. It is dangerous to wake the dead. Like I said, she reminds me of you.
Find another way. It's not working. You have to use your mind. Where can you go? You're failing. Find a think. Think. Focus. Use your mind. This isn't him.
Hervor ignores her father's warnings. The grave mound opens, and it seems to be full of fire. Again, Hervor demands her inheritance, but her father warns her that the sword is cursed and would be the bane of her family. But he relents and brings her the sword. She leaves the island with it, but the curse holds true, and death would follow in the years to come. And so, Senua, the misdeeds of a father have cursed his daughter.
Quiet. He wants me to find... Dillion wants me to face my fears.
Father? I'm leaving. I've decided. I think it will be good for me.
It's the darkness. It's speaking through
No,
you.
Dad, it's me. I think I can beat it. In my own way.
I can see the darkness in your eyes, child.
I met a boy.
Boy.
The chieftain's son.
No.
He said he could help me.
It's a trick.
He said I could be normal.
Normal?
Yes.
No boy is going to save you. No one can. When they see the rot growing inside you,
No!
they will turn their back on you. The gods can only fix you through my hand. You're going nowhere.
No.
You will not defy the gods. Come, child, take my hand. Come. Senua.
I am leaving!
You cannot escape the darkness. Your curse will make everyone suffer. You will have blood on your hands!
I saw once a plague strike northern lands of ice. It was so terrible that not the oldest man among us could remember the like. Hundreds died. The sickness took nearly every person younger than 40 and many older. And where dying mothers gave birth, the marks of the plague were on the babes as they came out of the womb.
This place feels...
What is this place?
This place feels... It's... creepy. It feels wrong. It feels strange. Like, how do you find it? It's just... The stench of rot. You can almost taste it. Do you smell it?
The Northmen speak of a death moon, a light shaped like a half moon that appears inside a house and goes around the walls. I once saw the death moon appear at a farm, and first the shepherd died, then a guest died, and then the farmhands, and then the farmer and 6 of his men drowned at sea. But that is not the end of it, because the dead return to haunt the living. If you see the death moon, then beware, because there will be death in that house.
She did it.
You fixed the bridge.
She fixed it.
You passed the trial. Get to that.
Senua! Come to me! Where are you?
I'm here. I'm right here.
Are you in there? Come out if you are.
You have to find him.
The ruse.
There was a Northman called Worrier. Big, red-haired, immensely strong. But he was afraid of the dark. It happened one night that an undead creature came to his house to drag him outside into darkness and kill him. He resisted with every ounce of his strength. He clung to the doorframe, but it gave way, and they spilled out of the house, and the monster fell back, and the moon shone down on its ghastly face. Worrier, terrified, cuts off its head, but is cursed forever. From that moment on, wherever he was, he would see those hideous eyes staring back at him. Sometimes we allow our own fear to haunt us to our grave.
What's that sound? Dillion! They're coming for me! It's close. It's close. Move away. Senua, move away. Feel it. You'll die. Run! Run now! Run! It's not safe here. Run! Senua, run! You don't even have your sword. You came through the wrong door. Where's your sword? They're coming for me!
It's Dillion. Find the creature. It's Dillion.
Where are we?
It's not safe. I feel unsafe. Where is it? I'm not safe.
You're dying.
You're lost. You're dying.
This is what death feels like.
Senua!
Senua! What happened?
They're blaming me for the plague. They say that I'm cursed. What if they're right?
How would they know such a thing? Are they gods? None of us are. They're just people. good people, but they're scared. They're afraid of what they can't see. Like children scared of the dark. They make up stories to fill the void. That doesn't make them true.
What if my father was right?
You have to step out of this darkness. Let them see who you really are, like I have. You're not a monster.
I want to tell you a story about a god of the Northmen called Balder. The second son of Odin. He was beautiful, good, and wise. He was fair of feature, he spoke fair words, he gave fair judgments. Light shone from him. Only good things were told of him. Yet he was the first of the gods to die.
You fail again. Don't fail.
Where are we?
What is this?
It's the same. It's another world. It's the bridge.
It's not broken.
It's fixed.
What happened?
The Northmen tell this story about the death of Balder. It begins with dark dreams. Night after night, Balder dreams of his own death, and the gods fear for his life. So Balder's mother makes everything in the world: fire, water, iron, stone, earth, wood, beasts, birds, serpents, poison, sickness. Swear an oath not to harm her son. One by one, they each make their vow. Neither weapons nor wood will injure him, Balder's mother boasts. Only Loki, father of Hela, the mistress of death, is not amused.
Dillion, there he is. There he is. What are you waiting for?
Quick, find a way.
Find him.
Go through it.
Before he disappears.
Where is he?
Was he
In a
gone?
way that the dark world.
Where's the way?
The world once seemed so and see the worlds of colour stretching away from the gloom. And Senua explored new paths into the unknown.
Strong.
The gods feast and rejoice and amuse themselves by throwing spears and stones at Balder, striking at him with sword and axe. But he comes to no harm, whatever they do. The gods never cease to wonder at this great marvel. But Loki shapes himself into a woman and asks Balder's mother, "Is it really true that all things promise to keep him safe?" "I did not ask the mistletoe," Balder's mother confesses. "I thought it was too young." Oh dear.
Dillion doesn't know who killed him.
Your curse. Where are you taking me?
He's up there.
Loki makes a dart out of mistletoe and goes to the gods as they throw things at Balder. The blind god, Huth, was there. Loki asks him why he wasn't taking part.
You are guilty.
Huth says, I cannot see where Balder stands, and even if I could see him, I have no weapon. Loki replies, here is a wand. I will tell you where he stands. And Huth throws the mistletoe at Balder. It pierces through him, and to everyone's horror, Balder is killed. And for this, Huth is slain.
You kill the things that are most precious to you. Dillion didn't deserve this.
The Northmen tell how the gods mourned Balder. His body was to be burnt on his ship, but they could not manage to push it into the sea, and sent for a giantess to do it. She comes riding a wolf and has vipers for her reins. She pushes Balder's ship into the sea with such force that the ground shakes and the rollers burst into flames. When Balder's wife sees his body carried onto the ship, her heart bursts with grief, and she dies. She's put next to her husband, and the pyre is lit, sending the dead to hell. But even so, the gods cannot accept his death.
Years had passed since she left her father, that of Zinbel and her parent, and Dillion. Future.
Can you remember what
Two realities tearing at her soul.
she destroys the thing she loves? Before the battle. Do you remember the way he stroked your hair? Do you remember the way he felt? He didn't believe that she was cursed. Messing with her.
Overcome with grief, the gods send Hermod to ride to Hell and ask Hela to let Balder return home. All the gods are weeping, he says. Are they? Asks Hela. We shall see if he is truly missed. If everything in the world will weep for him, he shall go back to the gods. But if even one thing refuses, Balder stays with me. The gods send messengers everywhere. Weep for Balder, weep him out of hell. And everything wept. Men, beasts, earth, stone, trees, metal, everything. Except for a giantess they find in a cave. Balder was never my friend, she says. Let Hel keep what she has. The Northmen say that the giantess must have been Loki in disguise.
You have no chance. She thought she had light within her. She is pure darkness. You broke him. You killed him. You couldn't see the darkness within you.
The Northmen tell how the gods punished Loki for Balder's death. They captured him and took him to a cave. They fetched his 2 sons and turned one into a wolf, and he ripped his brother apart. The gods used Loki's own son's entrails to tie him down, and turned these bonds to iron, and dangled a poisonous serpent over his face, so that its venom would drip onto him. Each time the venom drips onto Loki's face, he writhes in agony. The Northmen say that is the cause of earthquakes. A reminder, perhaps, that if even gods must accept death, then so must we.
What if this is pointless? I'm playing with you.
It makes sense in your mind, but it doesn't make sense. You're a guilty world.
Dillion!
Be very, very careful.
Dillion never much cared for the underworld.
Be quick. Be quick. Careful. Breathe.
No! No! It's your fault. He's disappeared. You've lost him to the sea. He's gone. You've lost him to the... He's gone to the water. He's drowned.
Senua, your father cannot understand your darkness. He cannot see through your eyes. No one can. My own father was born blind. Doesn't have the faintest idea of what the night looks like. The word dark to him means as little as the word light. So someone is afraid of the dark. Should we fix them by taking away their sight? Would you give up the beautiful world that you, only you can see, just to be rid of your nightmares? Or is this the price you pay for the gift you have? A gift that makes you so special in my eyes. Just another part of the person I know.
Is yours.
The Northmen say that their Allfather, Odin, gave his eye in exchange for a drink from Mimir's well, the Well of Wisdom. In blindness there can be wisdom. Only by giving can you receive in return. For this reason, I give my life and pass on my stories of the Northmen to you, Senua.
Where am I? I can't see. Who's there?
Can you hear me?
Dillion.
I'm right here. Can't you see me?
No. Help me.
Breathe slow.
It's the darkness.
Stay still. Empty your thoughts.
I think I'm somewhere else now. The breeze has gone.
Use all of your senses. Let the world speak to you. What do you hear?
I hear water.
Go to it. Don't be afraid.
Dillion. There's something in here.
Do you see it?
No.
Then it cannot see you. Quietly move past it, one step at a time.
It's not following me.
Leave it behind and keep moving forwards.
There's more of them. I think they're moving.
You're breathing too fast.
I'm scared.
Listen to the sound of your breath. In and out. In and out.
There's a well.
Don't turn back. You're getting close.
Dillion. Help me.
She could spend hours, days even, trapped within herself, in the dark.
You see me?
Yes.
Your eyes were open, but you were gone.
And when it finally let her go, she could be anywhere, with no memory of how she got there.
When it comes for me, I have no power over it.
But here, for the first time, someone was there to help.
But I heard your voice. You brought me back.
You found your own way back. All you needed was a little help. A little hope.
Dillion gave her the strength to pass the Worrier trials, and she saw a way out. To leave her past behind, and become a warrior in Dillion's clan.
Go back. It's not safe.
The sword is tainted by the gods of darkness. Leave it.
No. He left it here. He wants me to take it.
You will pay a price for this.
But years later, with Zinbal's parting words still haunting her, the darkness came back with a vengeance. A plague.
Dillion?
Everyone suffered.
My father was not supposed to die like this.
Dillion.
Do you see it clearly now, Senua? The suffering you've caused.
This is your fault. You brought this plague to us. You have blood on your hands.